Okay. We're going to start with one we were working on yesterday, 11:02, and I know a number of you met this morning, had a wonderful Zoom conversation, learned a lot, going to enlighten us. We have Stacy here.
And we put another copy of the reprint on your desk in case it disappeared. $11:02.
Senator King, did you want to? Oh, we were just going to start with what was this? Were decisions made? Where was an agreement come to this morning at the Zoom?
Well, yeah, and I think Senator Bailey has an amendment that he wants to. I think he just showed that to you.
Okay, but we have other amendments too. Yes. We have amendments that you want considered. Okay.
But I think that's all, isn't it, Stacy?
Correct. After the Zoom meeting today, there was an agreement that Senator Rosapep wanted two things, and that they agree that would be a floor amendment so that it wouldn't have to go back to the B&T Committee for voting.
Okay.
Okay, so we could do floor amendments was basically. We're going to get to that, Senator. Yep, we're going to get to that. So you have two amendments?
I have one amendment.
You have one amendment?
Do we have it here, Erica?
No, it's gonna be on your floor desk, but I can pull it.
Oh, okay, yeah, would you, just so.
Oh, we can start with Senator Bale. Do you have the amendment other than what you showed me?
No, I just have it written.
You just have it written out, okay?
You want me to make copies?
I think we can get somebody to make copies.
But he can explain it, that I can explain.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're not too complicated.
It's good to have that meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Good. Are we getting copies?
We're gonna pull them.
Okay. Sorry, Stacy.
It's okay.
All good. Oh, I can do one right now. How about this? We can do 579. 579 is what I kept referring to is the big school food program, universal expansion. And we have an amendment here that will just turn it into a study. As amended, yep. All those in favor? Opposed? Look at that. I did one all by myself. Not even a staff assist on that one. All right, why don't we start with Senator Bailey's amendment, which we all have now. Senator Bailey? Why are we doing this amendment?
I think my amendment is coming around.
We have it.
Well, that's great, because I gave you my only copy.
Senator Sally will share.
Okay. Okay.
I got it. We're.
I know.
Did you
I got
it.
and this is for all you to
Nobody got them on this
look.
side.
We at the end of the day, we're going to have this discussion. We'll hear, what Stacy might be able to tell us about any of these particular ideas. But at the end of the day, we're not going to adopt any of these amendments. You're going to take these to the floor yourself if you want to continue doing it. Okay. Senator Bailey.
Okay, so what we are talking about is, and we had a very nice meeting this morning, very informal. And if you look on the bottom of the page, it says the state board and the AIB may limit the number and types of courses that a student duly enrolled in at the student's public high school and at an institution of higher education may enroll in during the school year at the institution of higher education as part of the post-CCR pathway in accordance with the paragraph of the subsection and 15.127 of this article. And so what the issue is we are trying to increase dual enrollment, which I think everyone here is very involved with and trying to make sure that we're able to do that. The fact is the dual enrollment is a issue that, as far as expense, deals with our local boards. Our LEAs are the people, and our county commissioners and your counties are the ones that have to bear the expense. And the amendment that we talked about yesterday was the fact that it could potentially limit people or children from taking additional classes when we're talking about dual enrollment. One thing I learned today is there's no doubt when they explained it, there are school systems that are clearly funded differently than the one I come from and represent. There are children that take dual enrollment classes to be able just to say they took them, right? They evidently have that latitude. That clearly is not the case because our dual enrollment doesn't start until you're a junior, right? We have a very limited amount of AP and and dual enrollment classes. So it's different the way that it works. But when it comes to the funding comes from the locals now for dual enrollment. And in the conversation that we had this morning, they said, well, here's the situation. There's a big burden on the locals, so we want to limit this. We want to limit what can happen. Well, my issue about dual enrollment is we definitely don't want to limit somebody's opportunity, right? If they took a test that put them in a pathway that didn't allow them to move forward. I want to make sure that what we do is we have engagement and consultation with the locals, the ones that are paying the bill. And so the amendment that I'd like to take on the floor, and I think it is friendly, simply is the wording that's written there that says in consultation with each local education agency, so that the locals have a say in what the state and the AIB are doing, so that each county, each education area is handled differently because one size doesn't quite fit all.
Okay, Senator. Thank you. Senator King?
The only question I have in thinking about this is, okay, we have the state board and the accountability and implementation board, and now each local education agency. Who has the final word?
Oh, are you asking me,
Yes.
Senator? Yes. Actually, the LEAs have the final word. What happens is there's a funding mechanism in the law that says that students who qualify as CCR or college and career ready, they meet the standard, then they would qualify to take these post CCR pathways. And one of the pathways has to be dual enrollment. Unfortunately, there's also that now is not being funded. It's being funded based on a proxy according to MSDE, and that right now the funding is much lower than the number of students who will qualify under the CCR standard because the state board recently changed the standard. The standard was you had to achieve a certain score on one of the MCAP tests. Now it's expanded to allow more kids to qualify because they consider GPA as well as or what you score on these tests. So it's gone from about 40% of kids who qualify under the CCR standard to about 60% of kids. So more kids are going to be able to take these CCR pathways. What's happening now is that because of the proxy funding, the local education agencies aren't getting a lot of money. It's going to drop off from what's being funded. They get a certain what? Erica, help me out here with the.
$1,000.
So they're getting less money, yet more kids are going to be able to take advantage of these CCR pathways, including dual enrollment. So what the locals came to the EEE committee and asked is that could they have this transitional time where they could start to limit some of these classes, because the law already says that kids who don't qualify under the CCR standard cannot take advantage of these post CCR pathways once the AIB declares that the blueprint is fully implemented. This is just transitional to give LEAs who don't have a lot of money to offer these a chance to limit it, to maximize the number in students who can actually take them. So it's not one student who's taking an entire associate's degree worth right now, but more students can take advantage of it. So that is the point of this amendment, is to allow, to
Okay.
get some guidance, to put some limits, to allow LEAs to offer it to more kids.
Okay, one last question. If it gets to the point where we have so many kids that want to go in this direction, is it an awful thing to say that we limit it to like juniors and seniors? Or do we, Rachel's texting me here, do we want to keep, offering it to every kid that we possibly can, even when we can't afford it? I mean, that's just a question. I think it'd be great for every kid to take whatever courses they can take, but
So
financially, I don't know if that's feasible.
under the law, once the blueprint is fully implemented, these will only be available to kids who meet the CCR standard. So that's the policy choice that was made with the blueprint.
Okay, and Rachel says here, LEAs will decide, but AIB and MSDE will decide the minimum number that must be offered. Okay,
So I don't want to get too deep in this right now.
no,
This is a little bit of our bounds. But I mean, it's important that we understand some background when we're voting on these things. But as I said, these amendments are going to the floor. They're not going to be passed in here. So let's, I don't know, Senator Zucker, what do you have to say quickly?
A background question, sir.
Yep.
Just as we're going through these quickly, Ms. Goodman, if you could just give us an idea if the committee considered it, because if we're going to be on
The committee did consider the amendment that was adopted by EEE committee was this base language that you have in front of you in your reprint. After the discussion yesterday and in this committee, after the voting session and the Zoom meeting, Senator Rosa Pep had offered some language that essentially would be a little explanatory and making sure that was clarifying that the purpose of this was to phase in the expansion of dual enrollment to maximize the number of students who can earn the maximum number of dual enrollment credits consistent with the phased increases in school funding. And he also added for fiscal years 25, 26, and 27, which was agreed to by MSDE and AIB.
Okay, Senator Roosevelt,
Yeah, she explained my amendment.
perfect. So what I think I hear you saying is at this point that Senator Roosevelt are probably going to be accepted by the committee. The other one may not. But everybody has a chance to make their case. Okay, very good. Thank you. We appreciate you coming down,
You're welcome.
coming up. Yeah, we will. So all those in favor, as the bill as it was presented to us from EEE, opposed? Okay. So did we get that, Kim?
I did.
You got all of them?
4.
Okay. All right. You got mine. You're gonna have mine. So Senator King will have 579. Okay. Let's start back up at the top. Senate Bill 35.
Senate Bill 35, as introduced, would increase the SNAP supplement The bill also was making changes to the eligibility. Currently, it's for seniors 62 and up, and a supplement of at least $40. You do have some amendments in a reprint before you. These were amendments adopted on the House cross file. Those amendments alter the existing program to lower the eligibility age for the supplement from 62 years to 60 years old for somebody in the household, and then increases the benefit from $40 to $50 as a minimum benefit provided by the supplement each month.
All those in favor as amended?
Aye.
Opposed? You sure you got them all?
Okay.
I don't know, I was gonna give JB that one. I like the way he does like the bills, so. Was that? I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. All right, Senator McCray, of course, has got that. 7:33.
Didn't do that yet, did we? 676? No, we didn't.
We're holding that for the moment. We got an amendment issue coming.
Okay.
Which one?
676, we're holding for the moment.
Gotcha.
Amendment issue.
Senate Bill 733 establishes a task force to study transparency in tax incentives. The task force is to be staffed by SDAT and must submit its findings and recommendations to the governor, local governments that provide a tax incentive, and the General Assembly by July 1, 2025.
Okay, so this is just a task force study. It would be good if we passed this.
Favorable.
All those in favor?
Uh,
Opposed? Senator Zucker.
I was gonna offer this.
All right, 892.
All right, so this is a bill for public charter schools. What it does is it establishes within the IAC, basically a fund that would provide funding, annual funding to public charter schools for eligible expenses, which are defined by the bill, that have to assist in their facilities. It could be, any sort of fixes, rent, operations, maintenance, insurance, etc. There is no mandate in here. The funding, however, is expressed as a may include in the annual budget. It's a calculation of $2,000 per student that were enrolled in these public charter schools in the prior year. It would work as a reimbursable. Basically, the public charter schools would have incurred it in the immediately preceding fiscal year and then get essentially reimbursement from this. And then there are some other protective fence rails about which schools can get it. It has to be paid directly to the public charter school. What happens if the charter school closes and things like that. I do have a request to add Senator Muse as a co-sponsor.
Is that what you want? Who wants to be a co-sponsor?
Oh, sure.
Sorry, I'm super slow with this.
Hold your hands up, please.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay.
I got it.
All right, Senator Rosepep.
Yeah, just contemplate capital money or operating money.
It would be an operating money put into a special fund, so it's really agnostic as to that.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Bailey.
So I had spoken with the sponsor of the bill and might have got our signals crossed here, but the one thing I had a bunch of my students that came here and supported the bill. I like the bill, but the fact is I don't have the same diversity in that school that exists in my public schools. And I was just wanted to know if there was an appetite to see if before we start using the state funding for this, that it should be an equal representation of what exists in the public schools.
I don't know what that means. I'm not sure what that means.
We were all just universally up here. We didn't know what that meant exactly. How are we going to?
Are you talking about the distribution of the money or, I'm sorry,
Before the distribution exists, right? Before they can take advantage of the distribution, right? That school should be an equal representation of the demographics that exist in the local public school.
What? You mean like an exact? I don't know how that seems. It seems pretty rigid. Am I or am I not hearing what you're saying correctly?
I'm talking about diversity. If you have a charter school that has no diversity or very limited, and they're part of the public school system, and you have a public school right down the road that is very diverse.
Yep.
The fact is, all of a sudden, wait a minute, we've created a fund that we can send money to a school just that feels that they're outside of the realm using the public money. I think it should be a representation of the whole school system.
I know when I was on what was the EHE, when we did the charter law, and the most recent version of charter law passed in 2015 has a variety of requirements. The most important of which is that most of the applicants for a charter school need to come from across the county, and if more people apply than there's space, there is a lottery. Now there is the provision in that law that up to 35% of the kids can come from a smaller catchment area. But if it's a smaller catchment area, the median income in that catchment area has to be below the county average. So built into the charter law are a whole series of those protections. I frankly wouldn't want to put different rules on this charter money as opposed to the rest of the charter money. It's a significant issue to be inclusive, but I think as long as they're following the state charter law, this is just adding to help them financially. So that would be my reaction to your concern.
Further discussion? Yes.
Proposed by the senator is an excellent amendment to this bill.
So Eric was just saying to me, not only are they looking from across the county, they're supposed to be looking they can take it from across the state.
No.
no, okay, thank you. I'm thinking of private schools, not public charter schools.
Everyone in the county has to be able to apply. If more people apply than there's space, they have a lottery. But if a county wants to set it up so there's a catchment area, like a local school area, up to 35% of the kids can come from that area. But when they define that area has to have a median income below the county average. I mean, all those dynamics were negotiated out in the charter law in 2015.
So we actually think we'd probably need to get a little more legal consult on this. And so I think we should just go ahead and pass it, but I mean, if you're generally in favor of, which I'm guessing most of us are, and then look into that issue. Eric is going to dig into it with the Attorney General's folks. Okay.
I guess I wanted to say I hear my colleague loud and clear, and I guess Senator Roosevelt raised some good points. Like, I remember with the Montessori school, we had a big issue about them getting to that 35%. That's why I remembered that number that you were talking about, and just wanting to make sure that that's actually existing at the school that he's referencing, because that's what he's concerned about.
Okay. Okay. So as there's no amendment on this bill. So as,
Sponsors.
oh, sponsors, oh, right, sponsor amendment. As amended, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay. 902.
Senate Bill 902, triple E was primary on. Budget and taxes secondary. As amended, this bill establishes various requirements for DNR and the State Highway Administration relating to identifying and prioritizing wildlife and endangered species that live or move in corridors intersecting with state highways. Triple E, you have a reprint on your desk of this bill. Triple E made a number of amendments. And basically what the amendments did was took out the requirement for funding for this bill.
Good start.
The bill now says, subject to the availability of funding, these various things can be done. So the amendment removes the fee that was to be charged and added to drivers' automobile insurance. It creates a fund, the Wildlife Highway Crossing Fund, and specifies that the State Highway Administration should look for and apply for federal funding for the fund.
Mayor Corman,
The vote, wherever this was,
The votes.
we're second on this bill.
Right.
We're second on this bill.
the money's gone. So.
The money's gone.
Right. Exactly.
So
I get
let's
that.
put it in
I
that
know what the vote
perspective.
was.
It was 8-3. The nays were Carosa, Gallion, and Simonier.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just spoke to the sponsor of the bill earlier today, who wanted the committee to be clear that there was not a revised fiscal note, but there should be little to no fiscal impact. In it, and due to the subject to the availability of federal funding and removing the specific infrastructure requirements and leaving it to SHA and qualifying dates in the future for implementing certain items. And that others only need to be done if certain prerequisites were met. So she wanted that shared with the committee.
Very good. Senator Jennings.
What's the bill do? If we're not requiring the building of bridges and wildlife
Subject to the
pathways.
availability of funds. It's like, it's a may is what it is. Is it may without a specific dollar amount?
Okay,
So basically what the bill says is that it requires DNR to collaborate with SHA to identify the types of animals or wildlife that are near the intersections of state highways and to come up with a plan to try to keep them off of the highways.
Oh, you do.
that's why we build fences along the highways.
This is about wildlife corridors. It's not.
No, I get that. I just, we're only talking about, I guess, interstates here. This isn't your average road. This is like 97, 695.
Right.
In most places, they already have a fence, usually back up off the road. Now, it's too short usually, because deer can jump over 8 feet. Well,
I mean, there's all
through
kinds
Western
of-
Maryland's different ballgame.
I mean, if there's all kinds of options out in the world that literally people have like made the bridges and.
Yeah, I
all-
mean, I think they have one on 270.
Yeah.
I get it. I just trying to figure out.
Senator Songs, you were at that hearing?
I was, and I listened to the hearing and, my biggest thing was that they were trying to find areas where, and I looked at it this way. They were trying to find areas where animals cross, where they can minimize, I guess you could say, crashes or incidents. And I'm like, in any area, an animal could really cross. I mean, you can't just say, okay, certain areas, but at the same time, I know in some areas, there's probably a lot of deer, there's probably a lot of animals, a lot of foxes, but I mean, I can go in the city now and there's deer. So it's just, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, is this something really necessary? That's why I was there, so. Thank you.
Senator Roosevelt?
Yeah, my understanding, again, from the sponsor, but just generally paying attention. There are two issues. One is figuring out where to do it and the other is how to fund it. And I think this is a figuring out where to do it bill essentially now. And she believes there's federal money available for it. Maybe not. But I think figuring out where to do it and then figuring out if you got money to do it, I think makes sense.
But she did say here,
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
So I'll move favorable.
This is EHE primary, favorable as amended. All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Together again.
This can't be right.
That's right.
Yeah.
1080, but this can't be right. This is a third McCray bill today. Is it that psychedelics bill?
Senate Bill 1080, this is basically follow-up legislation to bill this past, I think the past few years dealing with the pay rates for certain employees in Perkins and the RICAs. There is an amendment at your desk. So the bill adds Unit G, and then the amendment clarifies that it's the Unit G employees classified as teacher or librarian. And then lines 13 through 17, additional amendment equalizing the pay rates. And then the bill also added employees that were employed in the RICA, Baltimore and Rockville facilities.
All those in favor as amended? Opposed? What's that? You want to be a sponsor? Anybody else want to be a sponsor? One taker. Two takers. Three takers.
Jackson, Roosevelt, King.
Okay. Senate Bill 1094. Not on there.
Oh, no wonder.
Late edition. We got a couple late editions.
Senate Bill 1094 is the State Lakes Protection and Restoration Fund alteration and extension. The bill, as it came in, extended the termination date for the from June 30, 2025 to June 30, 2027. And as a result, the bill makes changes made under those acts and it extends the deadline to 2026 and 2027. Basically with this bill is the bill that protects and restores state lakes. It's already been in process. The bill as amended will extend the fund through 2027 for $1 million. And it will strike the increase for $2 million. So it's basically only going to extend the dates, the sunset dates, for 2 years.
Okay.
And there was a request for Senator Hester requested to be added on as a co-sponsor.
Okay. All those in favor as amended?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Senator Corbin. You knew it. You knew it. What's that? You might want to be on it. Senator Hill. Oh my goodness. Everybody raise your hand if you want to be on it. That looks like everybody. Put everybody on it. He'll be on it. That's correct. Not a single natural lake. Pretty amazing, isn't it? Pretty wild. Okay, 10-14.
Senate Bill 1014, this is a procurement bill that would require units to publish certain procurement forecasting. There are amendments before you in a reprint. DGS had some concerns about the timelines in the bill. My understanding is that under these amendments, those concerns are eliminated. And so initially the timelines were set before the information and the forecasting would have been provided. So the amended timelines align with the current processes so that the information isn't required before it's actually determined.
Let's start at the beginning again. What does it do?
The bill requires each state procurement unit to publish the forecasting, listing all their anticipated procurements for the upcoming fiscal year. And so as introduced, the timelines for providing that information were set kind of before those determinations were already made. So the concern was raised by DGS about that under the amendments. Those concerns, as far as I'm aware, are eliminated.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I don't want to be a co-sponsor.
I know. Senator Stallings loves these procurement bills, so I'm gonna give it to him. All right. I think we're in pretty good shape. Yes. Yeah. Okay, anything for the good of the order? What's that? I don't see it. Is it on the list? Is it on the list?
I'll talk later about it.
Yeah, talk to me later. What's that? I'll let you know tonight.
We don't know what time you're on.
So as long as a bill is voted out of committee by our second session tomorrow, it will get attended to by crossover. That as long as a bill is voted out of committee by the end of the, by the end of the day tomorrow, it will be looked at and will be dealt with before crossover. So we have all day tomorrow. Pick up any loose ends. If you've got loose ends, let me know about them. Not now, but later. And I think that's it. You have a question about what's going on with our bills, Senator Bill?
Just wanted to clarify, just got a text message from Rachel. She was listening about the amendments with the AIB and MSDE are fine with your amendments. And so I just want to let everybody know that.
Great.
It's fine. Okay. We can be off.